Hello. We're back. We're back reacting to things because I'm reacting, but it's stupid. Back raging about Star Wars article, another one. This one is why The Empire Strikes Back is overrated, which is not going to go down well with some Star Wars fans. This is written by BBC. It's on the BBC Culture website, and it's written by Nicholas Barber, who happened to write the one about why Star Wars should have only been one movie. So it's written by Nicholas Barber and was written 3 months ago. So we're going to read it, see what it has to say. I should zoom in so you can actually see it a bit more. There you go. So if you want to read it yourself, you'll have to sort of pause it and read it, because I'm just going to try and speed read it. The second in the original. So Empire is to blame for the franchise's problems. Wow, can't wait to read this. It's 40 years this month since Empire Strikes Back was released, and for most of that time, the second film of the Star Wars series has been ranked as the best, the darkest, the most complex, the most mature. Directed by Irvin Kershner. I wish I could agree. This might come across as a contrarian hot take, but it seems obvious to me that the best film in the Star Wars series is in fact Star Wars. Right, so this is clearly basically an extension of the last one. Right, so this person, it's definitely a contrarian hot take, because if you ask more Star Wars fans, Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie. What? The Empire Strikes Back is a gloomier, more convoluted and repetitive film than Star Wars, and its production design isn't on the same level. What? This... I can't wrap my head around that. I really can't. So, I mean, I suppose you could, if you wanted to argue that it's convoluted, I don't know how that's true, because it's an incredibly basic storyline. The only thing that might become convoluted in it is the fact that it explores more about the mythology of the Jedi and the Sith, and especially Darth Vader. Which is important. I should add, before too many people attempt a Darth Vader style force choke through the internet, that I wouldn't be saying this if I wasn't in awe of what George Lucas accomplished as the writer, director, and producer of the original Star Wars. Don't disrespect Alec Guinness. Right, okay, so there's one person at the New York Times, which is obviously the best thing ever, stated that it was time-consuming, essentially mechanical operation, therefore he's right. It's not repetitive, quite honestly. It's not repetitive at all. So there's two storylines, literally, that in this movie. There's Han and Leia's story, and then there's Luke's story. Luke's story, fair enough, is slower than Han's story. That's because Han's being pursued by the Empire, whereas Luke goes straight to Dagobah to train with Yoda. And that's the point. It's supposed to be paced. The reason it cuts between is because it goes, right, okay, so here's some of our heroes being chased, that's our fast pace, everything's happening for a reason. And then you get to Yoda and Luke, and we're delving deeper into the Star Wars lore. I don't get how you can say just because this one person thinks that it was big, expensive, time-consuming, and essentially mechanical is I don't get how it's more contrived. How is it more contrived? I mean, if you can explain to me how Empire Strikes Back is more contrived, then fair enough. And in 1980, several critics were underwhelmed. Okay, so that's several critics in amongst people who thought the movie was absolutely brilliant when it first came out. People loved this movie when it first came out. I think it won a People's Choice Award for Best Movie in 1980. So, that's a bit silly. Narrative logic suggests that Obi-Wan should continue training Luke, but he is cold-shouldered in favour of Yoda. He's cold-shouldered because he's dead. Not only is he cold-shouldered in favour of Yoda because he's dead, he's also cold-shouldered. I'm really struggling to say that word. Cold-shouldered in favour of Yoda because Yoda has been training Jedi for hundreds of years. And he's not cold-shouldered because he's still in the movie. He still helps. And, sorry, just another comment on that. The reason Obi-Wan doesn't train him is later explored in a movie that you say isn't very good because it doesn't add to the mistake of A New Hope. We find out why Obi-Wan doesn't train Luke, because he's trained one person who was too old to be a Jedi, and look what bloody happened. I wouldn't go that far, but let's be sensible about this. The production design is clearly not on the same level as Star Wars. The Rebel base on the ice planet looks roughly what you'd expect a Rebel base on an ice planet to look like. The plain white plastic corridors of Cloud City could bins after a Star Trek film had wrapped. These shortcomings are disguised by Peter's suggested atmospheric cinematography, a master of shadows, reflections, and deep colour. He would go on to be David Cronenberg's regular director of photography, but not even Sushitsky's spine-tingling work can improve the derivative story. The story is not derivative at all. It's a completely original story. If you're going to tell me that the biggest cinematic plot twist in history is somehow derivative, then you're going to be, chasing shadows at that point. As for the look, the plain white plastic corridors of Cloud City could have been salvaged from the studio's bins after Star Trek. I don't get where this idea of the production design not being as good. Dagobah looks brilliant. What do you expect a snow planet to look like? Do you expect it to not look white? Oh yeah, maybe this giant snow planet is going to be red. About bright green, maybe. Because that's what snow looks like. As for Cloud City, if that's your opinion, fair enough. I always thought Cloud City looked quite cool. It's my opinion. It betrays Star Wars, trashing so much of the good work that was done 3 years earlier. Key events in Star Wars include Luke Skywalker being knocked unconscious by a wilderness alien, Princess Leia being captured by Darth Vader, Luke learning about the Force from a Jedi Master in a remote cave, a lightsaber duel that ends badly for the good guys, a scoundrel abandoning the rebels before having a change of heart, and a protracted battle between the ranks of the Rebel Alliance and the heavily armed Empire. Switch around those order of events and you've got The Empire Strikes Back, and while the screenwriters, Lawrence Kasdan and Lieber, shuffling our favourite scenes, that hardly compares to Lucas' achievement of dreaming up those scenes in the film. Right, okay, so Mark Hamill being knocked unconscious by a wilderness alien. Are you really going to call a Tusken Raider a wilderness alien and compare it to a Wampa? Is it a Wampa? I might have gotten that wrong. But what happens after that? Yes, he gets... That's just like a 30-second clip in the movie. What happens after is completely different. In A New Hope, he's saved by Obi-Wan. In this one, he uses the Force to stop... I think it's a Wampa. To cut the thing's arm off. Princess Leia being captured by Darth Vader. Aye, fair enough. She's captured by Darth Vader in A New Hope, but it's not the same circumstances in Empire Strikes Back. Not only are they all captured, including Han and Chewie, they're betrayed by someone who they think is their friend. Luke learning about the Force from a Jedi Master in a remote cave. First of all, he doesn't learn about the Force from Obi-Wan when he's in the cave. He learns about the Force when he's on the Millennium Falcon. So shut up. Wait, he does. Oh yeah, there's that scene where he gets the lightsaber. Okay, sorry, my apologies. But there's a complete difference because Obi-Wan doesn't exactly start training him, and the training that Yoda gives him is much more intuitive to his relationship that he doesn't know he has yet with Darth Vader. A lightsaber duel that ends badly for the good guys. I mean, every single movie has a lightsaber battle. Most of them end badly for the good guys. I'm not gonna, most of them do. A scoundrel abandoning the rebels before having a change of heart. He doesn't abandon the rebels. He betrays them once, then instantly regrets it and tries to help them. And a protracted battle between the ranks of the Rebel Alliance and the heavily armed Empire. So what you're saying is, switch around the order of those events. Okay, so they're two completely different movies. Just because there are minute events in them that are similar doesn't mean that they're the same movie. I could compare Kill Bill to Saving Private Ryan, because there's two people who do fight scenes. You know, I could compare Little Women to bloody Avengers Endgame because there's an element of romance. You can't say that Empire is not as good just because there are small, minute details that are similar. Well, here's a good one. Setting a bad example, but here's where things get tricky. My grievance with Empire Strikes Back isn't that it sticks to the winning formula established by Star Wars. That's what most sequels do, after all. My grievance is that it also betrays Star Wars, trashing so much of the good work that was done 3 years earlier. My un-Jedi-like anger bubbles up even before the first scene at the beginning of the opening crawl of introductory text to be played. People like this. Right, so I'm trying my best not to be toxic here, right? Okay. So it says, right, that it is a dark time for the rebellion. It says this prose preamble. Although the Death Star has been destroyed, Imperial troops have driven the rebel forces from the hidden base and pursued them across the galaxy. Hang on a minute. Has been destroyed. The sole aim of the heroes and right, so this is what I'm going to say. The sole aim of the heroes and heroines in Star Wars was to destroy the Death Star, a humongous planet pulverizing spaceship of crucial strategic importance to the Empire. Yes, but at no point do they say that that will destroy the Empire. The Empire isn't just the Death Star. The Death Star is a weapon that they use. One of their big cheeses announced that fear of this battle station would keep every disinter in line. Yes, he did say that, but it was destroyed. So it being destroyed showed that they weren't going to just, dictate everything to every planet in the galaxy. Another hailed it as the ultimate power in the universe. It destroyed planets. Yes, but now the rebels demolishing the ultimate power in the universe is waved aside with an although. Yes, although is a word. It doesn't ask you to pretend that Star Wars didn't happen. It said that happened. This is a result. And what it asks you to do is, it asks you to understand that the Empire, which means an empire that is ruled by an emperor, which is a big coalition of different things, isn't just the Death Star. The Empire is on hundreds of planets. So to say that, they destroyed the Death Star, so that the Empire must be destroyed. How? We see Darth Vader flying off into the ether. What a ridiculous article. Remember that scene in Star Wars when Imperial Admiral mocked Darth Vader for his sad devotion to that ancient Jedi religion? Forget it, because in The Empire Strikes Back, we're told that the Emperor is himself devoted to the same religion. And what about Obi-Wan Kenobi? Remember how he started training Luke to be a Jedi Knight, partly because his previous pupil Darth Vader turned to the dark side of the Force? Narrative logic demands that the ghost of the Obi-Wan should keep on training Luke in The Empire Strikes Back and send his new apprentice into combat against his old one. Forget it! The poor chap is cold-shouldered so that Yoda can train Luke instead. Right, so sad devotion to that ancient Jedi religion. He isn't devoted to Jedi, he's a Sith. Forget it, because in The Empire Strikes Back we're told that the Emperor himself is devoted to the same religion. No, we're not. We're told that he is... Hold on. Did they ever actually say? So most of the Empire don't know that the Emperor is a Force wielder. First of all, it's only really Anakin and the Emperor that know. Probably most of the Jedi, the only Jedi that are left, probably know. And again, this is stuff that you can just read, I guess. And what about Obi-Wan? Remember how he started training Luke to be a Jedi Knight, partly because his previous pupil Darth Vader turned to the dark side of the Force. Narrative logic. I hate it when people use those two words together. Narrative logic demands that the ghostly Obi-Wan should keep on training Luke in The Empire Strikes Back and send his new apprentice into combat against his old one. Forget it. No, actually, if I'm allowed to use this, just like you have, just because you assume the story should be something, the narrative logic should dictate that the master who failed feels the need to not train the character because he failed the first time. He failed the first time, so why should he try it again? Because he's just going to balls it up again. Give it to a person who's trained them for 100 years, for more than 100 years actually, who's trained them for hundreds of years, and let him do it, so it's safe. Right, so, okay, Alliance versus the Empire. So it's called Star Wars. It's about a war. It's about a war that's happening, and, the war is between the Alliance and the Empire, About who is related to whom and who's in love with whom. No, it's not. They're just two character arcs. As about who is related to whom, that one particular thing is only revealed at the very end of the movie. So it's not, the movie isn't about that. Who is in love with whom? That's just Han and Leia's subplot. The main plot is escaping the Empire. From political to the personal, I never particularly ever thought that it was all that political. I mean, maybe other people did. I thought the prequels were very political, but the originals weren't all that political. After all that supposed striking back, not really, none of that matters apparently compared to the booming declaration, I am your father. So we just forget that one of the generals, Han Solo, has been frozen and taken away. The saviour of the Jedi has almost been corrupted by the bad guy who was supposedly his father. If The Empire Strikes Back had been a one-off, I could have forgiven it by now, but what about all the many films that have used it as a model? All the films that have tarnished Star Wars by contradicting its mythos and obsessing over its family trees. All the tiresome dramatic revelations which have tried and failed to be as mind-blowing as the one about Luke's lineage. I was annoyed when Qui-Gon Jinn was shoehorned into Obi-Wan's past in The Phantom Menace. What? Annoyed when Rey became Palpatine's granddaughter or something in The Rise of Skywalker. Annoyed when the emergence of the all-conquering First Order in the first Force Awakens reduced everything done by Luke, Leia and Han to a footnote, but I accept that the writers and directors right. It's not just Star Wars films that have made the exasperating. Like all those films and TV shows that assume a jump for joy when the villain is revealed to be Sherlock Holmes' sister or James Bond's childhood pal. Think of all those superhero blockbusters that waste time teeing up the next installment in the series. I'm sorry, but the Empire has to take the blame for all of them. Search your feelings, you know it to be true. No, I bloody don't. Because everything that is said in those two paragraphs is wrong. Tarnished. So all the films that came after A New Hope tarnished its mythos. How? And how does it obsess over family trees? It doesn't. It says, here is Anakin, here is his story. It adds to the mythos. We see these legendary, mythical warriors fighting, and it's not just the sort of bzz, 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 like it is in A New Hope. It's proper Jedi fighting. All the tiresome dramatic revelations. What dramatic revelations? What dramatic revelations are there in the prequels? The creation of a clone army, maybe? Darth Maul being cut in half, maybe? Anakin turning into Darth Vader, which we know happens. You were annoyed when Qui-Gon Jinn was shoehorned into Obi-Wan's past in The Phantom Menace. So it is clearly stated that the Jedi have masters and apprentices, so it makes sense that Obi-Wan would have a master. Annoyed when Rey... Right, okay, so the whole thing about Rise of Skywalker, fair enough. First Order, Force Awakens, completely agree. Right, so you're going to blame Sherlock Holmes' sister in the series Sherlock on Empire Strikes Back. Why? There's a lot of things that do that now, and a lot of things that are very successful and things like that. James Bond's childhood pal. I don't know how that's anything like Star Wars. Darth Vader isn't Luke Skywalker's childhood pal. Think of all those superhero blockbusters that waste time teeing up the next installment of the series. So I agree that Star Wars showed the precedent for a shared universe. Waste time teeing up. When was this written again? Was this written when Avengers Endgame came out? Or even Infinity War? Yeah, absolutely it was. So, how do they waste time when they create movies like Avengers Endgame or Avengers Infinity War that have been built up over all these movies? It doesn't take away from the movie themselves unless it's a bad movie. It doesn't take away from the movie if it's teeing up the next movie. That's not something that takes away from that movie. I can't. What's this person called again? Called Nicholas Barber or something, isn't it? Sorry, Nicholas Barber, but I think you're a flipping idiot. Everything that is written in this is completely incorrect and completely devoid of any sort of understanding of the Star Wars lore, and trying to justify it with things like certain things are bad and certain things are wrong. That's fair enough. That's the same with every movie. No one's ever claimed that Empire Strikes Back is perfect. It is by far the best Star Wars movie, though. So I'm sorry, we'll have to agree to disagree. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this article. Tell me your opinions. Is Empire bad? Is it not? Let me know what you think about it. Like the video because it helps. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we upload. We upload every day. And yeah, thanks for watching.
I need to know.